Mel is about to play my TBR game, and I am so scared. She has full control over my next 5 reads, maybe more if she hits snakes. And I'm kind of scared because she could be really mean to me. I was nice to her, so I'm hoping she's nice to me. Well, at least in my opinion, I was nice to her. But you guys can be the judge of that if you go watch her video, and you can tell us who you think was nicer in the end. Because this is a collab, and she played my TBR game and I played her TBR game. We are doing this roll as you go style, which means I don't know what she picked for me. We're gonna watch the first roll together, and then I'm gonna stop it before the second roll, and once I've finished the first book, I can then continue on into the next book. But I can't cheat and look ahead, which is terrifying.
I love having the power. I love a good TBR game, and I'm so glad that I get to play yours this month because I've always wanted to. It just looks like so much fun. I am chomping at the bit to see what rolls we're gonna get, what books I can pick for you. I'm gonna try to be mostly nice, but I do hope we have a little bit of chaos thrown in there just because, you know, why not? So let's see what you're gonna be reading first.
Okay, so starting on physical TBR, let's see what we get for our first roll. 5. Which way am I going? This way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A fantasy.
Okay, so the first roll was fantasy, which is probably one of the easiest and most fitting rolls on the board. I could be really mean and choose an epic fantasy for you, but I'm not gonna do that. What I am gonna choose is Captive of Wolves by Eva Chase. I don't really know a whole lot about this book. I believe it is werewolves, shifters, and I think she typically writes Why Choose. I know you've read a book by her and enjoyed it in the past, so I'm really hoping that this is another win for you.
Your second roll is...
Claire's gonna be very excited because she's been asking me to read this for, well, not asking me, but she's been telling me that she's been loving it, pretty much hinting that I should read it so that she has someone to talk to about it. I know that this is a Why Choose with werewolf shifters, and she starts out as a captive, so it's got captee vibes to it, at least at the beginning, and that it slowly introduces the Why Choose men. That's pretty much it. I also know that I probably will either love this or hate this, and that I should know pretty early on how I'm gonna feel about it, which is exciting, but also nerve-wracking because, like, which way will I fall? I'm unpredictable, but I'm very excited. I'm gonna start this. Very, very happy with that first pick. I'm scared for this chaos Mel keeps talking about. Am I wearing the same sweater I wore in yesterday's clip? Yes. Would any of you have known that it was yesterday if I didn't say it? Probably not, but good morning. As always, I have my iced latte. Yum. And I have started our book. Okay, first off, I need to say that I personally not a fan of when books start with a helpless girl in a cage being mistreated. That's just something that really tends to give me the icky feelings, and I don't often continue in them. Having had a friend who loved this series and having read from this author before, I decided to continue, especially because Claire told me I only had to like stick it out for like 2 chapters. And I'm really, really, really glad I did, because I understand why they started with that scene, because it really does add to the trauma we know our main character has. It also adds to why she is the way she is and why she accepts the small amount of freedoms and the help that she gets from our men. Because essentially in this story, we're following our main character, who is a human who is locked in a cage by some mean wolves, and they take her blood and she doesn't know why. But one day some other wolves come and they save her and they bring her back to their keep, and they keep her prisoner as well, but they give her like free reign of the castle and they feed her, and they're not just like hurting her and starving her all the time. I do not mind what they're doing. It is obviously still, she's a prisoner, but it's a fictional story. I mean, I don't actually want to be kidnapped and then fall in love, but I love to read about it. I do mind like the harshness of the first cage. I'm really glad that that's not the people that we're falling in love with, because that always scares me that that's gonna happen. But that is not the people. Those are the villains of the story. They're the people we are going to take down with our strong muscles. I am vibing so hard. I started this last night, but this morning I decided to download the audiobook. There is a bound up of books 1 to 3. I'm already on chapter 12, which is 118 pages into the story, and I cannot wait to keep listening. I'm very, very much having a really fun time. I'm enjoying our main character. She's smart. She is pretending when she needs to pretend to be helpless. She is being stronger with other characters. She's really playing these men, in my opinion, and I love that. I'm predicting some of the men I'm going to like. So based on my love of Kellen and my love of North. I'm assuming I'm gonna love Silas, and based off my dislike of Farron and my dislike of Atlas, I'm assuming I'm not going to like August. Not that I don't like those characters, they're just my least favorite. I have a type and I'm okay with that, and I'm willing and ready to sell my soul for my type. I think that Wit is a wild card for me, and I think that I could really like him as the story goes on, or he'll become too much of a simp and I won't like him. I don't like when they simp too easily. Too easily is the key. I want you to simp at some point, but I would like it to happen after 3 books of banter and vibes, not after one day. I'm having a great time. I'm truly having a great time. I love this. I love this for me. I truly do. I'm kind of sad because I'm assuming that Mel didn't pick book 2 in this video for me, which means I'm not gonna be able to binge. My poor soul. That's all. That's my update for you. Am I going to update you again? Probably not. It's going to be at the end when I'm just telling you how absolutely amazing this story probably is. The writing is just so easy to read. Already I recommend for my Why Choose girlies. I don't know if I said this is a Why Choose story. I haven't made it that much farther into the book, but we have reached our first spicy scene, and they're easing us in, no pun intended, with a scene where she does it herself. A little independent spiciness, except for she's being listened to. I liked the way this was done. I felt like it was very natural, and I liked the level of spice we got for it being the first real moment of the story being something like that. I put the Coke in the freezer and the can is so cold. I feel like I'm a Coke sponsorship right now. I'm overall just still really vibing with this. I'm only like 55% in, so like I still have a little bit to go, and I'm very excited to continue this. We've had some good scenes with the men. I'm liking really getting to know them. This is a long series, and so that scares me. It's 9 books long. 9 books. However, if I love them, that'll fly so easily, and they're not super long. They're like 300-ish pages only. I'm gonna keep reading. I enjoyed that, and I had to let you all know that I enjoyed that. I reached the end of the story. I'm giving it 4 stars. This was a vibe. Truly, this was a vibe. There wasn't a lot of substance, I think, in this first book. It's more setting the scene, setting up the future plot, the future angst that's gonna happen. But I loved it. I had fun. It was such an easy one-day read. Like, I started it last night, but I read like 4 pages. Okay, I read 30. I read 30 pages last night. I read the rest of the 300 this morning. It's 3 p.m., so one sitting. I had so much fun, and now I'm contemplating a reread of a childhood favorite series. I loved the Nightshade series by Angier Kremer. Right after Twilight, when vampires started becoming uncool and werewolves were in again, this was getting me through life. These are definitely well-loved books. I don't even have a dust jacket for this one anymore. I read it so many times, I think I destroyed the dust jacket accidentally. Oops. Am I in my werewolf phase again? Because after liking this book, and then also I loved Bonded by Thorns, are vampires out? Are wolf shifters in? Potentially. I definitely would be reading the second book in the series right away. I think I would just continue on if I didn't have to see what Mel picked for me next. So I'm hoping that I will get to these pretty soon. They're quick reads, so I'm hoping that I can just fit them in between other books and other things, because I would like to know what's happening. I'm kind of obsessed with the men already. I actually kind of like them all at this moment, even the little soft boy, which is weird for me. I don't typically like the softies. That's it. That's all I have to say. I really enjoyed this. It's a fun time read. If you're looking for a fun time, Why Choose Romance? Do this. There is some cool political world building happening in this, but I feel like we just don't get to see a lot of the outside scope. It's really about meeting the first few guys and getting to know our character and just setting the scene for the next books. I'm excited to see how it's going to become bigger in the next 8 books, because it's a long series. Let's watch Mel's video and see what I have to read next, because I am joining sprints tonight on Claire's channel, who I will link down below, because I've talked about her quite a bit and I will probably continue to talk about her, and so I need something to read.
Your second roll is, drum roll please, 2. 1, 2. Black or white cover. I think we can work with that.
Okay, so I really hope you enjoyed Captive Wolves, because I'm about to throw you another one that was not on your TBR. We got Black and White, and Black or White is actually pretty easy in the fantasy world, so I was able to come up with one right off the bat. It is one we have talked about, so at least fingers crossed you did say you were interested in reading it. And that's going to be Dark Fae, which is the first book in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series. I have heard you mention wanting to read this one. I did confirm with Claire that this is a book you can read without having read the Roast of the Zodiac Academy series. I did not want to give you this and be coming back like, yeah, just kidding, let's do another roll. But I did confirm. So I really hope it ends up being a win. I'm kind of scared for you to read this one.
You know, you always have so much excitement when someone says, I'm kind of scared for you to read this one. To be fair, Mel has not read this book, so she's just scared because she's giving me things that are not set winners. They are wild cards. However, I believe this is also why choose, and that's why I wanted to read it. I've just been thinking about giving Zodiac Academy a try. I technically DNF'd it like 3 years ago. Not very far in, only like 40 pages in. But I was not a romantasy reader back then. I like dabbled in like A Court of Thorns and Roses and From Blood and Ash, but I am truly a romantasy reader now. Like, that is my umbrella term. So I have been wanting to try Zodiac Academy again. So hopefully I like this because then I can go try Zodiac Academy, and I want to read the new book by this author, Neverkeep, really badly. So I hope I like all of them. But I am excited for this pick. I know literally nothing about it. Besides that, I'm pretty sure it's Why Choose. I could be making that up. Let's read it. I truly regret to inform you that there is just a giant pissing contest happening in this story, but that I am eating every single second of it up. Plot twist. Last night on the sprints, someone called me out saying that my reading taste just takes a whole new twist every like 3 months. And it's really the way my personality works that I just find something that I like and I get so incredibly obsessed with it and then I burn out on it. I have a feeling that is going to happen with Why Choose because I'm just so obsessed with them. They're all I want to read right now, but I will probably burn out on them at one point and they're all going to start to feel the same. But at this point, I'm still vibing so hard with the Why Choose stories. Even though this is not a typical Casty book in my opinion, I am loving it. I can't get enough. It is absolutely ridiculous. The male POVs in particular are kind of awful. Like, they're not good, but I can't stop reading them. In my Patreon, we are having a fun time as I write out the dirty lines that I think are absolutely unhinged and like, how did someone come up with them? They're so ridiculous. Like, out of context, you would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you reading this? But it's just like, it works. It truly works. I think my favorite one has been the one guy says, does she like top or bottom? I don't let them ride on the top. I live up to my name because his name's Ryder, so he's always the rider. Or one that I read today was, she walked away swaying her hips and my hard-on sinking like the Titanic. The Titanic? Your hoo-ha is sinking like the Titanic? Incredible. It's so unhinged. There's been a few of them. I've been sharing them as I go. It's just absolutely hilarious. And people who don't understand the Zodiac Academy love are like, what are you doing? But the people that have read through these books or the Zodiac Academy stories are just like, yep, that's the vibe. Okay, back to the actual book. I have so much to say. This story follows our main character who her brother was murdered at this academy that he goes to. It is a pretty prestigious academy. It's not like the best academy in the Fae realm. That's the Zodiac Academy. And so she decides to hack into the system and get herself enrolled into this school so that she can figure out who murdered her brother and what is really going on. If you have been on my channel for a while, you probably know that a murder mystery plotline in a fantasy setting gets me. I actually have a recommendation list of these on my channel that I did like 2 years ago, and I probably could add more to that. I love them. There's something so engaging about them, something that keeps me turning the pages. Like, I want to know what's happening, and this is no different. I also love a school setting. I have multiple school setting recommendation lists on my channel. So this is vibing so hard for me, besides the fact that it is a pissing contest whenever we get into the male POVs. They are just trying to piss on their territory and mark it, but she is like, nope. I belong to no one. You're gonna belong to all of them by the end, or they're all gonna belong to you, I should say. Oh, also they're shifters, and I just can't take shifters seriously. Like, I can take a werewolf, like a wolf shifter seriously for some reason, but dragon shifters, a snake shifter. I'm just giggling. I'm giggling, but I'm having fun and I'm not putting it down, which is really working for me quite a bit. Yeah, let me just go beat red at the fact that I'm actually kind of loving this. Titanic lines and all. Honestly, they're making it better. I feel like it's one of those things where the authors know what they're doing, and so it's funny. Like, it's not like, okay, I feel like when I read like Den of Vipers or Court of Nightmares, I felt like the author took what they were doing too seriously. I feel like so far it feels like these authors are laughing with us. Like, they know, like, that line is so ridiculous, who would write it? Incredible. I'm 60% into this book. We have reached the bloat of the story. I knew this was going to be a thing. I knew that one of the complaints about the Zodiac Academy and this series as well was that they're a little bit bloated and that like not every scene is always needed. So I was prepared for it. I'm just hoping that we get through it. I feel like we're just at the point where she's just like getting to know each of the men on a deeper level, but like not deep enough yet. We're just like scratching the inner surface, like a paper cut. And I will say that like my favorite scenes so far have been scenes where the guys are very territorial and there's like multiple of them around and we get to see them interacting. I just find them hilarious. And I've liked the plot scenes. Specifically, I really like her brother's POVs. I like seeing like what he was getting up to prior to his death and like the days leading up to that. I think that that's really interesting. So I'm very much invested in the plot and the murder mystery and I would like her to get back into it. I feel like she's very distracted by these men currently. Even though they're like part of her overall plan for information, she's definitely distracted by wanting to sleep with them all. Which like valid, but can we figure out what happened to your brother, please? I did some research and this happens 5 years before Zodiac Academy, so you definitely can read it without reading Zodiac Academy. I mean, I haven't read the Zodiac Academy books. A lot of people recommend starting the series and reading this first book right after you read Zodiac Academy number 3. I think that's because you meet these characters at some point within that story after that, but definitely they are independent of each other currently, at least. Like you can read this series without reading Zodiac Academy. I'm having a good time, like even through the bloat, I'm having a good time and I want to keep listening, so that's always good. And I'm just intrigued to know what's going to happen. I think Gabriel is my favorite right now. I also do kind of like the scenes with Leon. I feel like my least favorite is the dragon shifter, and I just can't take dragon shifters serious. I don't know. They're just something else. But I do like the rivalry between Dante and Ryder. So there's that. Yeah, that's my update for you. I have a cheese string to eat and I'm excited.
I'm an expert at overthinking things that I shouldn't. You come across as a cool guy, someone is the opposite.
Okay, an early men ranking I feel like needs to be done before I finish the book. I'm probably 80% in. I think Gabriel is definitely my favorite. He is the only one whose chapters aren't just full on simping. Like he's not obsessed with her. I mean, he is obsessed with her, but he just has other stuff going on and that makes his chapters very interesting to me. So he's probably my favorite. And then Ryder, he can live up to his name for me. I do really like him. He's like cruel in pain but secretly soft. And then probably Leon, and then Dacra. Is that even his name? The dragon shifter. I don't really like the dragon shifter. He's like too dragon shifter-y, if that makes any sense. I don't think that that will change by the end of the book, but just in case, I had to put it here first. You had to hear it straight from the source. Okay, I just finished the book. I'm struggling with what to rate this one. I really liked that first half. The first 50% was so fun and I was giggling so much and I really enjoyed it. The last 50% I didn't love as much. I think it's because there's a lot less plot. I'm noticing a trend in Why Choose books where sometimes book 1 only feels like part of a book. I feel like a lot of the Why Choose stories I read blend together because book 1 is really just about introducing us to the characters and things like that. Like Broken Bonds, I don't remember what happens in every book. They just are one whole story. And I feel like this one just ended on such a part where I was like, wait, what? Like, where did my plot go? Because the plot is so good, which does have me excited to keep reading because I do want to know what's going down. I really want to know the secret society vibes, the murder mystery, what exactly happened, what's about to happen with Ryder's character, things like that. I am very much intrigued and I really do want to continue. There are some 5-star moments in this book and some 3-star moments in this book for me. I think though, with the last half, I just have to give it a 3-star, but I am very excited to continue. Like, very excited. I definitely will be continuing. So that feels really good and still feels feels like a win. Maybe it's a 4-star. I might have to sit on this one and see like what my feelings feel like as the story progresses. I do feel like it's pretty standard for me to give the first book in a Why Choose series a less rating. Like technically Bonded by Thorns was only a 3-star for me. And I just like loved the rest of the series so much just because of its lack of plot, and I truly am a plot girly. On that note, my ranking stayed exactly the same, but I have a feeling Ryder will become my favorite as time goes on. And then I think that Leon is kind of a wild card, and I think that he will move around a little bit just depending on his scene. I do truly like a lot of his scenes with her. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. If you've read this, I would love to know your men tier ranking down below, and I am very excited to continue, like very, very excited. Again, if I didn't have to read the next book Mel picks for me, I probably would continue a binge. But on that note, let's see what Mel picked for me, right? We should do that.
Third roll. 3. This way, this way. Please move. 1, 2, 3. Human. Is this a human on the cover or a human character? I'll double check that.
Okay, so now you're going to be reading a book involving a human, which was significantly harder than I anticipated it being. You would think that would be the easiest prompt on the board, but in fantasy and fantasy romance, they don't always tell you if the main character's human. I feel like they tell you if they're fae or vampires or werewolves or whatever, but they don't tell you if they're human. So we're going to make some assumptions, and we're going to assume that the main character in Metal Slinger is a human because it's not otherwise mentioned. I feel like this is a book that has been on several of your like TBR want to read recently, so I think it's time that you're finally able to pick it up. So I really hope you enjoy it.
I'm starting to think that Mel was a lot nicer to me than I was to her. I feel like I went for books I know Mel owns. Mel went for books she knows she's heard me talk about wanting to read, and I feel like hers was a lot nicer. I am dying to read Metal Slinger. Dying. It's a 5-star prediction for me. And my friend Maria is also wanting to read it, so I plan on texting her to see if she is wanting to start it tonight, because I have Patreon sprints tonight, and we are going to vibe together. I feel like I'm living a high. Like, I know I just gave the book 3 stars. Maybe it needs to be 4 stars. Like, because I just feel like I've only read good books. And not that a 3 star is a bad book, but it's not like a good book either. I don't know, I feel like I'm vibing. Thanks, Mel. You're doing good. You're doing good. I'm excited for this pick. Good morning. We have pulled out the holiday sweater. Is it probably too soon? Yes. Am I dying to listen to Mistletoe by Justin Bieber and Fruitcake by Sabrina Carpenter? Yes. Those are my 2 favorite things about the Christmas season. I said what I said, but I did have to keep it a little bit spooky with my ghost mug even though I'm wearing a Christmas sweater. Compromise. Also have a bagel to eat, so I'm going to try and keep this talking part quick, but I'm a yapper, so good luck to me. I got to chapter 8, which is page 73. I'm 15% in. Honestly, not sure how I feel about this at this moment in time. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I was hoping I would love it. It feels interesting. It is not what I expected this book to be about. Do I have any idea what I did expect this book to be about? No, I had never read the back of the book. Honestly, I had no idea. I have not actually listened to a synopsis of this book ever. I've just heard people freak out about the plot twist. All I know about this book is plot twists. And at this point, I'm kind of just annoyed because I'm tired of romantasy books trying to make us care about someone who is clearly not endgame, but also not putting the effort into actually making us care about them. It's such a surface level care for me at this moment in time. They're trying to be like, look at this good guy who could be perfect for her, but he's not the one. And I don't know, like, either put the effort into it and make it so that it's an actual like love triangle that like I'm going to feel a certain way about, or have a character that we are never rooting for, but our main character needs that character in order to learn lessons and adapt and grow as our female lead. Those can be done really, really well, in my opinion. Fourth Wing does them well. Yeah, the Spark of the Everflame series does that character well. I do like a love triangle that involves a character like that, because it's not for us, it's for our main character who needs it. Something like this though, where he's like the good guy, I don't love it. And I'm just struggling with all of that. I'm struggling with probably being in my Why Choose era and then reading a slow story. Nothing's happened in the first 70 pages, truthfully. Nothing that has impacted me, at least. I'm not caring as much as I want to care, but we will continue reading because I'm not giving up on it. We're still pretty early on, and we've met him, but we haven't met our love interest. We haven't spent time with him, at least who I'm predicting to be endgame. So I'm excited to get to that part, and hopefully my feelings change. Why aren't you focusing on me? Do you want to have a Japanese mukbang with me? I ordered Japanese food and I'm very excited to dine on it while I'm reading tonight. I have made a little bit of an indent into Metal Singer. Not a lot. I'm about 130-ish pages in. I'm honestly kind of struggling with this one. The world building is so awful. Like, I see why it intrigues people, but it's murky. It's murky at best, and if you are a fantasy reader predominantly, you're gonna see it, in my opinion. So in this story, we're following our main character who lives on essentially these like boats. I think her people live in exile. There was a war and they were exiled off of the mainland. So I'm picturing like a giant city on the water, and they have very, very tight resources. They do have a treaty with the mainland nowadays, and our main character in the first chapters, you see her with her other classmates because they're in training because of their age. They like train to be soldiers and stuff and work their jobs in this ocean city. You see her and her other classmates go to the mainland under this treaty where they essentially start a war. Our main character almost gets arrested for thievery even though she did nothing, and then her classmates all battle and there's bombs going off to get out of there. But there's no repercussions to that. Like, they essentially broke a treaty and they get back to their floating city and no one prepares for anything. No one is really even upset. No one even really goes through consequences of breaking this treaty, and like no one on board of this like city ship thingy is like, shoot, we need to prepare for when they retaliate against us. It's so weird. And then we do see a ship come from the mainland and there's one guy, and I don't know. I really can't tell you what this book is about currently. I think this is why I had no idea what it was about, because no one can wrap their brain around a synopsis of it. The thing that's really, really not working for me is they're talking about how their resources are so limited, and that's why they needed this treaty, that they've been in a 2-year recession essentially. Like, they have no food. I watch her steal an apple pretty much out in the open. They don't seem like they're on food rations, and they're throwing like fancy balls, buying gifts for each other in their matches and things like that. Well, it's not a ball, they're just like throwing parties. And they're buying match gifts and things like that, and that all makes no sense to me. If you are exiled, but also why were you exiled? Living on this like ship with really limited resources, you aren't doing those things. I don't know. I'm missing emotional intent behind the writing. The writing feels very self-insert. When a scene happens, I can come to a conclusion about why people would act that way, what they were feeling, but I'm coming to that conclusion based on my own feelings and what I would attribute to characters acting like that in a scenario based on my own experiences or other books I've read. I do not feel like the author is writing with emotional intent. I feel like I'm not seeing the emotions on page. I'm not being walked to multiple conclusions to then make my own conclusion. I feel like I'm just self-inserting and I'm buddy reading it with someone else, and we're coming to different conclusions because of that very often, and we don't normally do those things. I don't know. It's an interesting experience because I am intrigued, but I think my intrigue comes more from confusion than like actual intrigue. I'm confused and I want answers to things, but I'm worried I'm not going to get them. That's really my rant right now, but I'm still reading. I'm hoping that this all changes. For a book that everyone calls plot twisty, it is so predictable at this moment in time. I've predicted 3 of the like twists so far because they were common twists. Okay, mukbang time. I won't actually eat, but I will show you guys what I got because I ordered a lot of food for myself. One, I ordered 2 Cokes, because one for now and one for later, since I was out of pop in my house. Broccoli tempura. This is my favorite type of tempura. I love broccoli tempura. Edamame, which is like a soybean, and you like essentially put this in your mouth and you suck out a little bean. It's kind of like a pea, but like not like a pea at all, because I don't like peas, but I love edamame. But you put the whole thing in your mouth because it's like salted on the outside, but you don't eat the outside. Beef tataki, which is essentially rare beef that you put a ponzu sauce on. In my opinion, delicious, but if you are a well done beef person, you probably won't like it. And then of course, the main course is the sushi. I got a spicy chopped scallop roll, a kappamaki, and salmon sashimi in all of its glory there for you. Ooh, these look delicious. They smell good. And then it was buy one, get one free miso soups, so I did get 2 as well. One for now, one for later. That's it. I'm gonna dig into my sushi now. I love sushi. What is your go-to? Like, I'm home alone tonight, so sushi is my like go-to. Like, I'm gonna splurge by myself and I'm going to self-care. What's yours? I finished. I have mixed thoughts on this book. I think I'm gonna give it a 3-star. I do think I liked the ending, the twist per se. However, I wish I had never known about it, truly. I predicted it. And the only reason I had the ability to predict it is knowing about it. So I'm so sorry that I ruined it for all of you guys too, telling you. I don't know, it's so hard. I feel like the book didn't make me care about anything. It felt so surface level, and I know why it did that. I get it, but I wish that what it was trying to do was accomplished through having real characters, real emotions, real moments. It was so surface level, and nothing was well explained, and there's a reason for that, and it just, I don't know. I will potentially continue on, but I'm not obsessed at all. This was so mid for me because of my lack of emotional connection, because the lack of emotional intent the writing was given, the lack of understanding of a character's motives, of a character's interests, of a character's personality. Is it a 2? I think it's a 3 because I did enjoy it. It was an easy read, and I think I will continue when the next book comes out. But I'm also sick and tired of books ending this way. Although it's a twist, it's not a twist at the same time. I don't know how to explain anything to you. But we are on to our next book, which means we need to watch Mel's video.
Roll number 4. Okay, we haven't gotten anything too difficult so far, so let's see what 7 gets us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hyped. Also, this is probably my favorite doodle.
Now you need to read a hyped book, and this one was very, very easy because I know we are both still needing to read the Indie Archive pick, and so Songbird in the Heart of Stone was just the easiest pick. I feel like everyone is chomping at the bit to get this book. It is one of the most hyped romantasy that I am hearing about, so I can't think of a more fitting book to have you read.
Roll number 5.
Okay, I am very, very excited to read this one. It is one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Everyone in our book club, because me and Mel run a book club together called Indie Archive over on our Patreons. People who have started reading it early, because a bunch of us have ARCs, have been loving it. I was holding off on reading it closer to release date, but if Mel speaks, then I have to listen. So I'm going to read it now, and I'm very, very excited, especially after the letdown that Metal Slinger was for me, considering I thought that was going to be such an easy 5-star. Very excited to hopefully jump into a true, very easy 5-star. Carissa can't let me down, right? I feel like I'm foreshadowing something really bad and I'm jinxing myself. I feel like you guys hear me talk about eggnog a lot, but my other holiday season must-have is cranberry ginger ale. This stuff is so good. I am the type of person who, I always say I only drink brown pop. I only drink pop with caffeine in it, really. I don't really like Sprite or anything like that, but this liquid is liquid gold. It's so good. You have to get the Canada Dry version though. The no-name versions are always a little sweeter than these ones. These ones are the perfect balance of ginger ale with just a little bit of cranberry. Yum. Started the book, but I figured I'm gonna update you on dinner because I feel like I've been talking about soup a lot. In my household, we've been really trying to get into soup season this year. We all love soups and we eat soup pretty consistently in our house, but this year we've a soup a week has kind of been the goal. And last night my mommy made our soup that's kind of been a little tradition. About 3 years ago, we stumbled across this pumpkin soup recipe because we had a pumpkin that we had grown in our garden and we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't really like roasted pumpkin, things like that. We didn't want to let it go to waste, but for some reason we were oh, we're gonna try growing a pumpkin. So we looked up some soups. We found this soup, and initially I was this sounds not good, but it is the most delicious soup I've ever had, and it is a lot of work, but since then we have made it once a year. It's just become a tradition for us, so we made it last night. Obviously delicious. I will say that I feel I've had soups this year that have topped it. Tortellini soup that I made with ravioli and my mother's leek soup were my favorites of this season. We are still making more. I mean, it's cold out. A big warm hearty bowl of soup just really does it for me. I want the beans. I want it to have stuff in it. I don't necessarily need it to just be a broth. When we do have broth soups, we normally have a sandwich or something with it, but so good. I will leave the recipe down below. We do add sausage to it. That was a fluke that we did one year and have since continued to do it. So we just have some ground up sausage that we fry and then add to the soup as the topper afterwards. Honestly, so good. I highly recommend. It is definitely filled with all vegetables and stuff, but so good. I have started The Songbird and the Heart of Stone though, which is what you're really here to hear me talk about. I am, I think 10%, 12% into this. I have a NetGalley arc, so it's hard for me to like see exactly where I am because they're never that well done. 13% in chapter 6. The thing is, when I read Serpent, by this point, I was already, I can't put this book down. It's going to be the best book I've read this year. Like, vibes. Like, I was so obsessed with that book so early on, and I was hopeful that this book was also going to make me feel that way. I am enjoying it. I'm liking it, but I'm definitely not at the point of being obsessed yet. But I think because Misha's not a character that I gravitate towards, it's going to take me, actually, I think it's Misha. I think we were told how to pronounce it. Misha is not a character that I gravitate towards, so it's going to take me a while to like get used to her. And I feel like one thing that's really hard for me is her voice inside her head reads very differently to how I assumed it would read based off books 1 and 2, which of course were clouded by Araya's viewpoints in those as well. But I just thought she would be a little bit more spunky, a little bit more comedic than she is. And she's very, very like soft-hearted. I definitely thought she would have a little bit more of a closed heart to her, be a little bit more standoff, I guess. But I haven't had a lot of scenes. We are just really getting into the root of the story. We have just really been introduced to him as like a real character. The last line of the last chapter has me really intrigued. I know that they're going into the underworld in this, and that's pretty much it. But I'm excited to continue, but I'm nervous because I want this to be like my next new favorite so badly. But hopefully it still turns out to be that for me. Good morning. I feel like my reading has really slowed down, and I'm hoping saying that will jinx it and make it speed up again, because at the beginning of this vlog I was reading like a book a day, and it's been a few days since I started Songbird. Some of that is because I'm not like obsessed. When I'm obsessed with a book, I just find like I make time to read. And when I'm not, I start doing other things. I've been watching a lot of Real Housewives. I caught up on Potomac. I caught up on Orange County and went back to rewatch more of the old seasons that I haven't seen. And I caught up on New York. Wow, I watched a lot of TV. Also, anyone watching Dancing with the Stars, very, 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 very happy that Riley and Brandon have both made it the farthest they've ever made it. Really mostly happy for Brandon. Like Riley, it's only her second year, and on her first year she went pretty far. But Brandon has had like the 8-week curse since he's been on the show. So I'm very excited. I'm rooting for him to win, to be honest. I really, really want him and Chandler to win. I love Joey and Jenna, but I just think Brandon deserves it. Not that they don't. I love Brandon and Chandler. I also love Brandon's wife. I follow her on TikTok. Okay, non-Dancing with the Stars news. I need another sip of coffee. The book. I'm just under halfway. I think I'm at like 44% into it, which puts me into the middle of part 3. I'm definitely liking part 3 the most. It's been my favorite part so far. I think we're finally getting some action. Part 1 was probably my second favorite. I liked the world building we got in that one with the House of Shadow and the king particularly. There's a scene with the king that I just like exploded my brain. My brain went poop. My brain went poof. How do I move on from that comment? I have really been struggling with our two characters. I think Misha is just, I didn't really like her in the first duology, and I was hoping this duology would change my mind. It's not. I just find her kind of mid. She, in some ways, actually quite a bit reminds me of Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. Their relationship actually reminds me of this one. It's just this like soft relationship that I feel like is led by the traumatic experience of pledging yourself to a god that doesn't really care about you. I can see so many similarities between this book and the one I'm currently reading. Obviously written by the same author, so like that makes sense. And there was a nod to this at one point that I really enjoyed. I've been liking picking up Easter eggs. I feel like I've been picking up good Easter eggs about the third duology. I feel like there's been a couple times where things have picked up, where there's been like a 1, 2, and a 3, and the 1 was something that happened in Rain and Araya's duology, and the 2 was something that is going to go down in this duology, and then the third one I'm guessing is going to be the third duology, which has me very excited for the third one. I was counting on him to get me through this because of my dislike of Misha. Not that I dislike her, I just find her mid, and like her trauma is so encompassing in her brain that I feel like it's the only narrative that we are getting, and it's just like a circle around that, and at some point I need it to expand off of that. But I also find I don't do as well with like trauma with a softer main character, someone who just like kind of lets the trauma exist. I definitely prefer books with like feminine rage trauma. Like I feel like this being one of my favorite books is the epitome of feminine rage trauma being dealt so good. And so the way that Misha just handles her trauma is just not something relatable necessarily to me, and I'm struggling a bit with it and her character because I just find them both kind of like cardboard boxes. I'm sorry, but right now he reads like a cardboard box to me. Like, he's a cardboard cutout. Where is his personality? He's supposed to be grumpy, and like I guess he's kind of a grump, but like not in this way. Like, Wilder Hawthorne was a grump, but he just was like comedic and funny. I feel like this relationship is so soft. Somewhere in the book I need comedic relief to happen, and I'm not getting that anywhere. There's like these side characters that exist just to be side characters, but they don't have any personality. They exist essentially to be distractions in the trials that are happening. Oh, I was talking about Grumpy Sunshine. I'm going all over the place. I'm so sorry. My thoughts are so scrambled on this book. But he, I guess, is kind of grumpy, but he's kind of a boring grumpy. But I don't get the sunshine vibe from Misha. She's giving too woe is me. I'm stuck in this traumatic loop to give happy sunshine. And I think I'm struggling there because I don't see their banter. I don't understand their chemistry at all either. It just feels like all of a sudden they're really attracted to each other. Not necessarily sexually, but like something just keeps gravitating them towards each other, but I don't understand what that is or get it, which I think it's a me problem. It's not a book problem because Carissa Broadbent can write. I think it's just that Araya was one of the main characters of my dreams. I love her. She was perfect to me. If you didn't think she was perfect, I think you will like Misha. I feel like they're very different ends of the spectrum main characters, and I just gravitate towards Araya more than Misha. But anyways, Carissa Broadbent's world building, so amazing. This book will probably get a 3-star, even if I don't love it, just because I love that. I love seeing how our plot of like Nyaxia is growing, because we are definitely seeing that. I also love that our romances in each book do mirror something Nyaxia went through. I think we see Nyaxia's rage in Serpent of the Wings of Night, but then I think we see Nyaxia's heartbreak potentially in this one, and I'm excited to see what we see in the third trilogy. I do think her world building is just immaculate and so well done, and so much stuff mirrors each other or foreshadows each other's and things like that, and it's really, really intricate. Her writing has improved for sure. Like, it's very beautiful. She has like a very, very beautiful type of writing. I've been talking for 7 minutes. According to this, it'll be edited down and not be 7 minutes, which means I need to stop yapping and get back to doing the reading. I would like to finish this book today, to be honest. Big words from me. Don't hold me accountable, please. Please don't. A little phone update because I'm too comfy to move. I'm 60% in and the book has picked up for me. I am finally, I feel like, starting to enjoy it. I don't know if I love the relationship quite yet, but I am liking the character interactions we've gotten more. I think there is a little bit more of a friendliness. I'm starting to see a friendship, which could lead me into seeing like the chemistry of them at some point. But I really think that I really like where the plot is going. I feel like the action has picked up, the story as a whole has picked up, things are starting to come together, and it's leaving me feeling good, because the first 50% of this book I was really struggling and I was really worried this was going to be a 2-star, which is not good. But now I'm really settling into the story and I'm really starting to enjoy it, which I think is really good. I'm really liking the world building that we're getting right now. Good morning. I did not finish my book last night, so I need to do that this morning. I'm really close. I have about 10% left, and then we can move on to, I think, the final roll, unless Mel hit a snake. We've been doing very good and not hitting snakes. We also have not hit ladders. I did a phone update. It did pick up in this latter half. I'm just still not sold on this relationship because I don't really understand how it got here, but I do like their moments together. Something I'll also say is this book really mirrors Serpent of the Wings of Night. The plot is set up in the same way. Like, we're hitting similar things as the story goes on. We have a blood drinking scene at about the same point in the story. We have so many little like mirrorisms of those two stories, which like I think is beautiful writing, but also at the same time has led me to understand when things were going to happen, because I can predict them based off when things happened in the Serpent of the Wings of Night. I also am predicting how it's going to end because of that. And that scares me for the second book in this duology. I know this is going to end in a cliffhanger. Like, I mean, Serpent ended on like one of the biggest cliffhangers to ever exist. So I'm scared, but also I'm not invested, so it probably won't actually like hurt me. But I don't know. it'll hurt all of you because I realize that I will be the minority on this book and that so many people are going to absolutely love it. It's just not for me. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. Let's read my last 10%. I finished Songbird and the Heart of Stone and I'm giving it 3 stars. Probably not very surprising. I did really like the ending of this. Unsurprised. I knew it was going to be a big twist and a cliffhanger because that's what Carissa does. I've read all of Carissa up to date, and honestly, this will be my 8th Carissa book, and I've actually really only loved Serpent and Ashes. I really liked Six Scorched Roses, but the rest have kind of let me down. This one fits somewhere in the middle of those. I think I really liked the plot. I just could never buy into the relationship, and I think that is where this book really struggled for me. However, I'm excited to get the second book and have, I'm assuming, his POV in it because that's how Serpent worked. Serpent was just her and then Ashes had both of them. And I think the addition of his POV could really work for me really well. I liked where the story went and I liked what the ending means for it. So I am excited about the next book, but I didn't love this one, and I said it earlier that I thought I was jinxing myself. I really did jinx myself because this was not obviously a 5-star read for me. I don't know, like softer love stories just don't work for me, and this one happened apparently over a bunch of months, but it feels like it happened within days of each other. So I think a lot of the character work happens off page, and I will say time and time again that that is why friends to lovers, that's why things like that don't work for me. Why enemies to lovers work so well for me is because it's normally always on the page. I have to see it happen to believe it. It's just me. I know so many people are going to be giving this book 5 stars because Carissa's writing is so beautiful and it has really improved. I think you really see the improvement within this story. I've read every Carissa book possible, and I think that you can really see her writing improve in every single book, and this one is a top tier written story. I just didn't connect to it, but that means we have to watch Mel's video and find out hopefully our last book of the vlog, although maybe not hopefully because I've been having fun with this.
Roll number 5. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nature.
All right, I hope we've had some wins so far. We are on to the last book, and this is probably the wildest of wild cards. It is one that I think you've mentioned, but it's not one that we've really talked about recently. We got nature, and so I was trying to find something with nature on the cover. I would think would be pretty easy, but all of the list of my possibilities, it didn't really have a lot of nature on the cover. But Long Live by V.B. Lacey has, if you zoom in really close, a bunch of flames and stuff behind the dagger. So I think that that is enough nature for me to count it. This is a romantasy duology, which I know we both love, kind of the sweet spot for romantasy, and so I'm hoping that it will be a win. So I'm so excited to get your thoughts. I hope this book is a success. Honestly, I hope all of the books are a success and you don't want to kill me at the end of this video. Okay, bye!
Okay, I know Mel said that we've talked about this book before, but I swear I've never seen this book before. I have no idea what this is, which has me excited, so I need to look it up on Goodreads. I do love a duology. We're gonna read the synopsis together because I honestly have no clue what this is. Isla Belthair lives an ordinary life in her small village of Lockhart. Since losing both her mother and the man she loved 2 years ago, all she wants is stability and peace. But her world is forever changed when her family is attacked on a journey away from home and she must travel to the Atarian mountain range to find them. Across the realm, 4 ancient beings who control the elements of nature are awakening. After a civil war that tore the humans apart, the elementals enter a 1,000-year slumber. Now, they are being summoned to prevent a dark force that is greedy for power and threatening to overturn the balance of nature. When Isla's path crosses with one of those elementals, she finds her fate is more entangled with theirs than she had ever imagined. As she risks it all to follow the elementals on their journey to defeat the unknown foe, she discovers that not everything may be as it seems. Isla is torn between protecting her loved ones or following her heart down a dangerous path of power, of magic, of truth, and lies. Will they sacrifice to stop the coming storm? That sounds like every romantasy to ever exist. I'm excited because, listen, I like romantasy. I'm gonna see if it has an audiobook. Only 1,000 ratings? I'm kind of scared of this one. A serious wild card. Hopefully it's 5 stars. I have restarted this audiobook 4 times and gotten to chapter 5 every single time before I realized I just needed to restart it again. And on this 5th time, I think I'm just going to officially DNF it. There's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't capturing my attention. I don't know if that means it's a book thing or a me thing currently. I did burn out a little bit on reading, so it could be a me thing. But honestly, I think it's a book thing. It's kind of leaning towards that like range that I don't love, that feels like a YA story trying to be adult, but not quite hitting it there for me. Things like Lady of Darkness, things like A Court of Blood and Bindings. It just feels like one of those types of stories in the narrative tone, and I'm not sure it's going to be for me. So I'm just going to cut my losses. I'm going to DNF it. I won't feel bad about that. I've definitely been learning to DNF and learning to love DNFing. And I think my rating has definitely gone up in like average rating because of that. Because I feel like this was just going to be like a mid 3-star for me, like both of the books I just said. So we are going to DNF this one. Listen, I had 2 very big wins that were wild cards for me. I'm literally living in my why choose era, and I would like to get back to those. So I would call Mel's video very, very successful. I do think she was nicer to me than I was to her, but I guess you have to go watch her video to find out. I'll leave it right here on the screen for you. And tell me in the comments what you think. Was I nicer or was Mel nicer? And if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me. Is there like a gravestone? Leave me a gravestone emoji. Let me know if you would like to see this kind of series done on my channel consistently, where someone else plays my TBR game, because I had a lot of fun, and who you would like to see play it. And have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.